Welcome back, guys, to another part of Beyond Good and Evil with your host, Habanero Gamer. Today's going to be the first of our dungeon videos, but first we got two detours to do because it's just convenient to get these out of the way now, for me at least. The first of them is that there's a side cave over in front of Mamogo's garage. You'll probably see it as you're wandering around looking for things to do. All you need to do is go inside of it, and there will be two things for you to grab in here. The first of the things to grab is obviously a PA1, and the second thing to grab is these the bipedal frogs in the ground.
Great, I can start.
Or the erected frogs on the ground. My bad, they're not bipedal. The PA1 is inside of the box, right, the cabinet right here. Alternatively, the shaft, it goes to another lair, another mini dungeon of sorts, but you can't access it right now. You can't get into it until I believe after the second dungeon. So then once you've grabbed those, the picture and the PA1, just head on out, and you'll be back in the Hillis area. Now our second detour is that we're going to take the hovercraft and go over to one of the 3 or 4 looters' lairs to do. Of course, we're going to take a picture of the flying fish here. Now the thing about these looters' lairs is that, like I said, there are 4 of them, but they're interesting, and they're one of my more favorite parts of the game in Beyond Good and Evil, is that they're really fast paced and really well designed, I think, personally. So you're going to enter, you're going to be attacked by these looters who will take $100 of your dollars away from you. It's nothing that big, and you'll be chasing after them through the lair. Now mind you, you can grab the boxes throughout the lair to replenish your $100 that you did lose. So if you shoot 3 or 4 of the boxes, you'll get plenty of your money back, even if you lose halfway through the looter's lair. You just have to make sure that you shoot the boxes. And as you can see, the looter's lair is less of a fight and more of a race. You're racing against the clock. Sorry, I had paused the game there. There was a bug that stung me, so I had to swat it away. And throughout the looter's lair, it's not just a simple race, as you can see. It's a race that obviously involves how fast you can react to the change in the environment. Of course, if you know what the course is going to be beforehand, it's pretty easy to map out a way to get through the course. Now, you might also notice that this electrical line, you're racing against that because you're racing into the door. If the door, of course, closes, it's you're sent back to the beginning of the looter's lair without a second chance. Well, not without a second chance. You're allowed to try again, but you're not going to get your $100 back at the very least. And so after you catch up and corner the looter, you just have to shoot him, and you'll get your money back along with a pearl. So that's one of the reasons why you go ahead and you need to. It's an easy pearl. It's one of the more fun pearls too. But without further ado, we're going to head off to the Black Isle dungeon.
Where's that Black Isle again?
This is the main city of the game. Unfortunately, it's the only city in the game. Something about this game that, unlike Legend of Zelda, which gets a lot of parallels drawn to, is that it's incredibly short, and that's something I don't like about it. But that doesn't really matter when you're in such a beautiful environment. I'm going to just clarify this. The DOMs, you saw them in the first part. They don't really clarify this in game unless you read the instruction manual. In the game, they're very similar to the race of aliens in Halo called the Flood. They are trying to abduct people so they can suck their life force out of them. And the Hylian government is trying, of course, to protect the people from the DOMs. So this is going to be our first of many when it comes down to, well, first of 5 dungeons that I can think of, I believe. No, wait, there's 4 dungeons. My bad, guys. Now, with the 4 dungeons, it's a pretty simple layout. But this dungeon's the only real action dungeon, and you'll quickly see that most of the dungeons are focused around stealth instead.
Hello, Miss Jade. My employer, Mister De Castallac, like all the inhabitants of Hillis, wish to see an end to this war. The Alpha sections claim to be pushing back the DOMs, but they're hiding the truth from us. The DOM's monsters have already invaded every corner of our planet. 2 specimens have been spotted at the bottom of this mine shaft. If we don't warn the population, their numbers will increase radically. Mr. De Castallac is prepared to pay a very high price to be able to defuse a picture of a pair of these monsters. This is a very risky mission, and you're free to refuse.
Well, Doms aren't exactly our best friends. Tell your boss he'll have his picture.
You can see that easily this game can be, like I said before, drawn parallels to Legend of Zelda. But I do prefer to compare it to Metal Gear Solid in the fact that there are a lot of really linear stealth segments that you can easily get through if you know what you're doing. But I do like how they put it into a setting where you can explore it a lot more and collect things. So that's definitely a bonus. Back to the gameplay. You're going to want to make sure to go up this side passage just for the animal for right now. You can't get to the gate on the other side without the item that you need from this dungeon. So you're going to need to come back after you complete the main dungeon to get that gate open and the second animal in this area. Because this little slug is right there, but you don't have enough time or a good enough angle to take a picture of him while he's right there. Needless to say, I try to actually go and take a picture of him.
Let's go.
This is one of the buddy puzzles that I like in this game. I do like how the fact that
We'll find him his
this game does incorporate a buddy system of sorts, but it doesn't force you to babysit the buddy, unlike other games where when you're escorting them, you're constantly going back to keep them from getting hit or harmed. In this game, you rarely ever have to worry about your buddy, and that's something I do like, and that's how a game like this should be approached, is that if you have a friend or someone to take care of, they aren't constantly getting pegged down on. And in fact, they do help you with a lot of the puzzles.
Come on over here, will you? Now may be a good time to show you my latest invention. 2 years of work under the utmost secrecy. The outcome of a life's work. My little marvels, the jet boots. They run on homemade biocarburant. Here's the pocket of pressurized methane. And here, in the soles, are the 2 turbo reactors. All you have to do to fire them up is contract your abdominal muscles. It's the transportation of the future. I'm waiting for your signal, Jade. Silicon grenade! Hey, what the? And there you have
Cool.
And this is a prime example of those puzzles. You press the triangle button and Paige will go over and butt stomp onto the button. Pretty cool, and I think it's a better way of implementing a partner than just having them sit there and do nothing and scream like in modern day games. He actually has a very good use, and so does the later on when we get another teammate to play around with. Granted, they're both exactly the same, but it's nice to have an extra person where you can switch out with. So here's the map. The cool thing about our camera is that it has a 2D to 3D transition. It can tell by taking a picture of a map, we can form a three-dimensional picture with Segundo on our PDA thing that we have on our back. Make sure this is an easy to forget animal. Make sure you take a picture of him. I know that I've forgotten him on a couple of playthroughs. You're just gonna want to head on over here, and there's gonna be this mushroom thing. Take a picture of that. It's a fungus of some sort. I don't know exactly what it is. I just know it goes boom when you hit it. The cool thing about Paige's super action is that once you activate it, all the enemies on the field and everything that can be used to attack goes up in the air, and you can go into a slow-mo Matrix-like attack that will knock it in a direction where you aim it. Granted, it only has about 180 degrees of turn, so you're going to need to position yourself so you can hit it correctly on the thing you want to attack or hit. Just so you know.
Careful with those mutant anemones. Okay, your roll
So
of
with
film
that,
is
our second roll of film is actually finished, and we have our next pearl, our first of the, believe, 6 pearls you can get from taking pictures of animals. There are a total of 8 rolls of film in the game. It can be pretty difficult to remember to take a picture of all the animals in this game, because there are certain parts in the game where if you miss the animal, you're not going to be able to go back and get that animal. So you gotta make sure that you pay attention when you're going throughout a dungeon. This is the only real exception to the rule, though, so you don't have to worry about losing out on an animal. However, later dungeons, you're not going to be able to come back and do the dungeon again to look for the animal that you missed. So keep that in mind. However, the good part is, after this dungeon, we can buy for about $2,000 an object that will upgrade our ability to see on the map, and will allow us to look at the map for information on the animals and where they are, and not only animals but pearls too. So it's definitely worth getting all the animals you can in this dungeon so that you can get that upgrade in the after this one. So we got a very simple trick here. You just gotta use the cart full of dynamite to knock down the bridge that you couldn't before. You can try and go through the gate, but you don't have the tool that you need to get through, which unfortunately is the same tool you need to get through all the gates in this game. So now we're introduced to our first real enemy, the Crochaks. The Crochaks are this giant cockroach flying things. That's how I would compare them. That's how I always saw them as, is a flying cockroach. They're very dangerous and they're very hard to fight at times. Because of the fact that they do fly, they tend to dodge your attacks very well. But for the most part, if you dodge right before they attack, all you have to do is go back in and attack them. It's pretty simple to fight them then. if you're willing to use the dodge mechanic in this game. However, I tend to forget that I even have a dodge, and I just mash the X button to attack. So that ends up having with me getting a lot of mistakes, or a lot of mistakes are made, to at least say that.
Hold your horses. Good lord, you'll bust a gut.
The one thing I don't like about Jade is that she's a very strong female protagonist, but I do like the fact that they don't focus on her being a female, except with the fact that if you are trying to push something ever in this game, they always freaking remind you that you are a weak female. That's something I don't like. Personally, if you're gonna have a female protagonist in a game, I think that you should focus on not having the protagonist be helpless. I think that you should focus on the protagonist being just a regular person, because I could never get into the Tomb Raider games. One, because the only Tomb Raider games I ever owned were the older PS1 titles, and because of that, they don't control the smoothest. But mainly for the fact that Lara Croft is, like I said, a very strong female protagonist, and because of that, I sometimes get pushed away from the series when, even though it's a very good series from what I understand, they sometimes incorrectly try to relate the character to a game player. Now, it's not that I don't like the game, the fact that it is overall, but it's a nice change of pace to see someone like Jade, who is still a strong female in a video game, but just acts like a regular person instead of being a female of sorts.
Magnificent. Ordinarily,
Let's just say it like this. If Jade was replaced by a man, it wouldn't be feminine for the man to do the things he does. For him to do what Jade does in this game, it wouldn't be feminine. So I think that by doing that, they made this really nice character that they needed to expand to put a lot more on, because as it is, the game is really short, and they don't expand too much on this character.
Hey, I'm sure we'll be able.
Here, I'll leave this to the expert.
Wow! A Bronco D53 equipped with cutting hammer. Oh, that's for me.
But with that out of the way, we now have a way through the gates. So just open up the rest of these lockers for a box of K-bumps and I believe a Starkos. I'm not too sure. Also, if you missed the fly in the very beginning of this part, in this very beginning of this dungeon, it is there again for you to take a picture of.
Identification. Okay.
This is the first of our not the first. No wait, it is the first of the vending machines you'll see in the game. There are a couple of them throughout the game. You will use them to mainly buy health items and boosts and health increases to, say, your hovercraft and to your PA1s. Now you might be tempted just to leave and get going, but if you go on a little further down the mine shaft, you will see this sponge thing, and it's really easy to miss. I will say this again, it is really easy to miss, especially the fact that it's worth $500, and I believe this slug hiding in this conch is another $500. So it's an easy $1,000, easy early game $1,000 that you're gonna want.
congratulations. Information on giant snails are difficult to come by.
Just transfer this funds to from the science center, and get going then. There's another map on the wall in case you forgot one from earlier, but as you can see, it's pretty easy just to go up to the map on the wall in the very beginning of this dungeon and just take a picture of that instead. Of course, you can always fight this next fight out, but if you want to, you can just walk by. I fight it out because they only take 2 or 3 hits to defeat, like I said. Something I would like to note to you guys is that during fights, it is possible to accidentally push Paige off the edge of something. It's not considered an automatic kill, though. He doesn't die. So if you do push him off the edge, I'm going to state that you're going to need to find an M-Disc reader and save your game and reload your game, and he'll be back. Or if the other case is, and you can find another area to go to where there will be a loading screen, I believe that brings him back too, but I haven't tested that yet, so don't quote me on that. And this is what I was talking about, the PA1s. Here's the second of the vending machines in this game. This one does sell a PA1. I know later on, in Mumblego's Garage they sell mecha enhancers, which will, or I believe mecha impulsors, which increase how many wrenches you get on your hovercraft. Remember that puzzle from earlier where we used a minecart to knock down a bridge? Well, here it is again. Something I'm going to say that I really detest about this game, as much as I like it, they do reuse puzzles a lot, and because of it, it can get really repetitive and really dull to resolve these puzzles over and over again. I would say it's very similar if Portal decided to have the same test chamber over and over again. Not that it would be bad. It's not, in this game at least, it's not necessarily horrible and it's forgivable, but I would like to say that if you're into these kinds of games for their complex puzzles and their creative puzzles, this is definitely not the game to be getting into. Even though I do highly suggest this game to any person looking for a nice story to immerse themselves in, and a set of characters that really feels like they are relatable. Needless to say, now we've knocked down the bridge for Paige. He can get across, and we had to only fight a handful of Crochaxes, or as I like to call it, flying cockroaches. I would just like to say this is another part where you can push your companion off the edge if you're not careful. So just keep in mind the 2 tricks I told you about.
Thanks, Jade. If it weren't for you, I think that...
Don't mention it, you old fart. Let's get a move on. I got a feeling the best is to come.
And with that out of the way, we can now go back down that bridge and actually find another animal that's worth our while. This is a pretty special animal. He doesn't like being pictures taken of it. So what you need to do is you need to position yourself and your camera so it's just off to the side, and you can frame it perfectly. But you're not going to get a centered photo of it. Otherwise, it just disappears before you can take a picture of it. Now, but with that out of the way, we can head on over and solve that really quick butt puzzle we already solved in the very beginning of the dungeon.
Okay.
This will send us back over the edge, and there's yet another animal to grab over here. So keep that in mind when you're down here. You could just press the button and get going. And there's also the M-Disc reader where you can save your game. But what I'm going to do is you're going to kick that light box, and this animal will actually come out. You only got a little time to take a picture of him before he goes back in, but he's an easy $500 if you know about kicking the light switch.
Good. I'll transfer a pearl to you, Jade.
And that's my 3rd roll of film. I believe by the end of this part, we'll have 4 rolls of film. So, if you've take all the pictures of all the animals that we have so far, we'll have quite a bit when it comes down to animals.
Good day, ma'am. Candygram.
And so the next puzzle is, well, if we can consider it a puzzle, is pretty easy. Just make sure that you bring Paige along and you're not going on alone for the next part of the game. Just head on through the gate that Paige brings down, and you can head on through the mine shaft. As you can see, there's going to be a flying conch around here, so you're going to want to take a picture of that when you can.
You want white or wheat toast with your omelet, Miss Grace of an Ox?
This is another fairly simple enemy. It does hit hard, so you're gonna want to be careful. But for the most part, what you're gonna need to do to get rid of these guys easily is you have Paige or your second partner butt stomp or use their super action to knock them in the air. When they're knocked in the air, you can knock them together like a pinball in a pinball machine, and that will deal with the enemies pretty quickly. However, I don't like doing that. I prefer to watch Jade manually fight. I just like the martial arts that they use for the Joe staff in this game, and I think that they put a fair bit of time in it, and I don't think it's very fair that we can just cheat the game out and beat it so easily. Even though if you're going for a speed run in this game, the best thing to do is probably just use the super action a whole bunch of times and destroy the competition. Now there was that bridge that we could have knocked down earlier, but I forgot to knock it down. It's pretty easy to forget to knock it down, especially when you're trying to show off the fact that they've got this nice martial arts system. So for as good as I wanted to, for as much honesty and good I was trying to do by showing off this game's moderately okay combat system, I was doing just as much bad. It's a flying conch.
My mathematic colleagues are fascinated by nautilus shells.
Is that a conch? I could be wrong. I am much like many people, subjugated to being wrong. So if I'm wrong, guys, please correct me. I'm sorry to say, but I did say in the very beginning of this part, a lot of dungeons were focused around stealth. That at least makes the dungeon interesting. This is by far the least interesting dungeon in the entire game, and because of it, I think it's very unfair to this game to judge it on this dungeon and not the second or third dungeon. But needless to say, we're almost done with the dungeon actually. We're coming up on where the objective was, where Mister De Castallac wants us to go to. And we'll be taking a picture of these two earthworms that he so desperately wants pictures taken of. You just need to knock down this amoeba. The one amoeba that we actually had to use a super action on. You just need to knock it down enough to bring the hairs down, and that will allow Paige to butt stomp it down.
Clear, Miss Jade. And remember, I would like to have the male and female.
Okay. Now, taking the picture of the earthworms, pretty easy actually. You just need to make sure that they're both in the same picture, which is, like I said, pretty easy. No, we're done. We're good. And our bridge, it disappeared. We have no bridge now. And if you couldn't see this one coming, if it's a dungeon, there's obviously got to be a dungeon boss. So Remember those two earthworms? Well, they weren't exactly earthworms. They were eyes. He's one pissed off mofo with very two-dimensional teeth. The first thing you want to do, like with all the bosses, is take a picture of them. It's very easy to forget to do that. So make sure you do it if you want all 56 of the precious animals. And also don't stand around like I did, because that will get you hurt. You'll lose a heart on that one. So this strategy the boss has is pretty simple. He'll move from hole to hole, and it becomes a giant earthworm whack-a-mole. What you need to do is that in order to get close enough to attack him, you need Paige to super action on his head, which will allow you to get close and use a combo on him. If you can combo 5 or 6 times, the guy goes down pretty easily. He's not that much of a problem. Of course, after every time you whack the mole per se, he's going to send out a load of enemies to fight you. In this case, just 2 cockroaches, the flying cockroach things, the Krochaks. But, actually 3, my bad. But, you can see that Paige is taking care of himself. Unlike other escort partners I've played in other video games, he's not completely incompetent. He keeps them from attacking him, so long they aren't ganging up on him. And so you're gonna combo again, and that orb is floating. I want it, but it's floating. And this is the second phase of the boss fight, where you can't exactly use a combo on him. He's gonna come up through a hole, one of the holes, 5 or one of the 4 random holes, and he's gonna go back in through one of them. You can only really hit him on his way in and his way out. So if you can predict which hole he's gonna come out of, it makes it really easy to defeat him. And I'm gonna actually admit this. He did something really weird in this playthrough. He's not supposed to come out of the hole and attack you with his spin attack like he did to me just there. I was actually expecting him to come out and do his breath attack like he's doing right now, but for some reason he insisted on doing his one spin attack. This is the only time he did it again. See, this is the only time in this game that I've ever had him go back to his first strategy. I think it was a glitch, but I'm not too sure on that. Needless to say, 5 or 6 combos will do this guy in. He goes down, and he's pretty easy to deal with. And we have one dead giant earthworm.
We did it, Paige.
And like I said, we're done with this dungeon. We're good. We have the pearl, and we're ready to leave. I don't know though if you take a picture of the dead body of the worm, the boss, I don't know if it counts. So if you did forget to take a picture of him earlier, I guess you could try to take a picture of him now.
Congratulations, Miss Jade. You have...
Hold it. I got a bone to pick with your boss.
Mr. De Castallac never really existed. I think I owe you some explanations, Miss Jade. Hop in. Miss Jade, you have brilliantly succeeded your situation test.
Situation test?
Yes. Please forgive this little charade. My name is Han. I'm a member of the Iris Network.
The Iris Network? The rebel organization?
Yes, the rebellion. Fighting against a threat that no one knows exists. If nothing is done, the entire population will be destroyed.
With the help of the Alpha sections, we can push back the DOMs.
The Alpha sections are not exactly what you believe them to be. They capture 10 people for every one that they save.
The Alpha sections have been defending us for years. They take care of the wounded, push back the DOMs' attacks.
That's exactly how they cloud your suspicions and gain your confidence. They suck the lifeblood out of our planet exactly as they've done to hundreds of others. The Hylian government didn't have the time to react. They were completely overtaken. But we can stop the Alpha sections.
How exactly do you propose we do that?
They are completely aware that an uprising of the population would spell catastrophe. Bring the proof of this conspiracy to the people, and victory will be ours. More than ever, Jade, the Iris Network needs people like you. Help us fight the good fight. If you decide to join us, rendezvous at the Akuda Bar. Ask for peepers. You're free to choose your side, Jade.
Did you say peepers?
Mm-hmm. At the Akuda Bar. Be sure to remember the password. Safe and sound in its shell, the precious pearl is the slave of the currents.
Security measure?
Discretion is the key. Oh, by the way, I almost forgot your reward. Hope to see you soon, Miss Jade!
So, just what does Miss Jade think about all this hootenanny?
If there's a way to stop this war, we can't let it pass us by.
And with that, our first dungeon, the Black Isles, is done and over with. We didn't get really any dungeon items, and but we have accepted a job from the Iris Network, the rebellion group on Helios. But with that, we're going to tackle that mission in our first collection video tomorrow on the next video, guys. Later.